Welcome back to K24 Alpha Jury. It's now time to rise and shine. This is what we do every single morning from 6:30 to 7 o'clock in the morning. And today we're talking about decisions in transition. Just basically, the decisions that you make as you're transitioning from one stage of life to the other affects you. So how do you shape your mind to make sure that you're making the right decisions? Joining me in this conversation is Francis. Karibu sana to K24 Alpha Jury.
Asante.
Yes, how have you been?
I'm good.
Yes, Karibu sana. Please just introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is Francis Wairicu. I'm a life coach.
Yes.
I'm also an author. And I facilitate transformation of lives. And I have a leadership statement, which is using my coaching gifts and skills to bring out or to cultivate the greatness that is in the people.
Okay.
And bring it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Today we're talking about decisions in transition. And this is the title of your second book.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. We shall be talking about your first book much later. But tell us about the title. Why the title?
Now, Decisions in Transition was inspired when I was making a major transition in my life. Having been in an industry where I had been there for about 20 years. And now was a time that I had to make a decision to walk out or maybe to step out and do something else.
Yeah.
And whatever I was going to do was quite different from what I was doing. And so I realized when I decided that I wanted to make this major step, I realized that there are so many things that I've never understood about the industry that I was getting into, which is what I do today. Okay. Yes.
And you have a very interesting story. You know, you walked with your resignation letter for 3 good years before handing it over. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's quite true because when you decide to make a major decision in your life, when you're transiting to the next level, there are things that you need to learn because many times we make the mistake of probably stepping out of a place or maybe an area, a relationship, without really seeing how much it's going to cost you. Because when you're making a transition, you realize that there's some emotional things that happen within you. One of them is excitement. Have you seen people who are excited because they are leaving a company? Excited because they are leaving a relationship. But when they step out there, they realize that things are quite different from what they thought. And so that's one of the emotions that come with transition. And so when you're making a major transition in your life, you need to sit down first and reflect. Have some self-reflection, some self-talk before you make that major leap. Because whatever you're going to do is going to affect your life in a major way.
For you, it actually took you 3 years to reflect on whether you're going to make this big step or not.
Yes. Okay, the 3 years were not because I was going to decide whether to make the step or not.
You had decided.
That one had been decided.
Okay.
But what I realized is that there is so much that I didn't know in the industry that I was getting into. And now I had to find ways of learning how things are done. I had to find a mentor who was going to teach me. I had to create networks in the area that I was stepping in. Because you realize when you get into an industry, there are so many people in that industry.
Absolutely.
There's so many giants that you need to face. So what makes you different? What makes you, what makes people prefer you from anybody else? And so those are the lessons that I had to learn in the 3 years. Number 2, there were emotions of fear.
Because you don't know what to expect on the other side.
Stepping into the unknown. You do not know what you're going to face on the other side. Like, for example, when you're employed, you have a paycheck at the end of the month. That one is guaranteed.
Standard,
Now, you're stepping out, you're not going to look for a job, and you're entering an industry where you do not know and you're not very sure if it's going to give you returns or the returns that you need. How are you going to pay your bills? How are your children going to go to school? How are you going to keep the lights on? You see, those are questions that now create some fear within you. And I realized that when I made that decision, it created a lot of fears, not just for me, but also for my family.
For your family,
Because I sat them down and told them, now, the decision that I'm about to make, it's going to affect every one of you, including the house girl in the house. Yes.
And she's wondering, okay, Sasa, where? That's
true. Because if you cannot maintain that, now, you see, there are things that you need to do when you're in a major transition. You cannot continue spending the way you were spending if you're not getting the income that you were getting before. And so there's a starting point. But you see, you also need to make this decision. And let me tell you this. What I realized in that journey is that we have this transitional question that you need to answer. And I realized this when I was I was not actually trying, but I was was traveling. And we were crossing the border. And I realized that in transition, there are questions that you need to answer yourself. Number one, when you get to the border, they will ask you, who are you? Now, that one, you need to understand your identity. They want to know who you are.
Okay.
Now, number one, when you're making that decision, when you're getting into that transition, do you know yourself? Who are you? So that's the first question, dealing with identity. Question number two, where have you come from? That's a question that you need to answer. Like, for example, if you're looking for a job in a company, when you go there, you're going to answer that question. Number one, identify yourself. Who are you? Number two, where have you come from? In other words, show us the journey that you have taken. Show us your credentials. What papers do you have? So that's a question that you will always answer in a time of transition. Question number three, where are you going?
Are you going to? Okay.
What is your destiny? What is your destination? Now, you need to know that for a fact. Because what have you seen? Because you need to see it first before you even take the journey.
So for you, you had been in the printing industry for more than 15 years, right?
More than 15 years.
More than 15.
Yes.
And then you decide, it's about time I tried something new. It's about time that I moved on from this. Did you actually have any fears, like in terms of what if this doesn't work out? What if my next step is going to be more difficult? What if it's not going to be as rosy as I think it is?
Oh, Sarah, the fears are real. The fears are real. But Winston Churchill said that courage is getting failure after failure without losing enthusiasm. And so you realize that even though the fears are there, you need to work on what you saw. And that's why I said you first need to know where you're going, even before you start the journey.
So you had a plan.
You must have a plan.
Okay.
You cannot just go there without even knowing where you're going, because you've already lost it. And so you need to be very clear, because these questions are going to give you clarity on how or how you're going to take this journey. Because you already know where you're going. Now, the journey comes after that. Because when you're taking this transitional journey, I said you need to start reflecting. And after you reflect, you start working on yourself. You don't start working on the journey. You start working on yourself.
Okay.
Because you realize there are many shortfalls within you. So you don't focus first on that journey. Deal with yourself and decide if you're ready to take that journey. Like, for example, people get into relationships. And after some time, they realize, no, this is not what I wanted. What is wrong with that? They had seen the journey. They had seen the rosiness. They had seen, but did they sit down and say to themselves, what if the challenges come? What if it doesn't work out? Am I ready for this thing? And you'll find some people are not ready for it. And that's why I tell people, even before you get into a relationship, and it's especially the men, if you're made of plastic, don't get into a relationship that will lead to marriage. Because when the heat comes, the plastic will melt.
Oh, wow. I love that. When the heat comes,
the plastic will melt. So if you're made of plastic, don't get into a relationship.
Okay. All right. But even as you're making these decisions, there's importance of having someone to guide you through. Did you have that person to hold your hand and to tell you, okay, fine, on the other side, it's not going to be easy, but this is what you need to do? Because I feel like there has to be that one person who needs to push you sometimes and just to let you know that it's okay, it's fine. You know, it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. Did you have that one person?
Today, I'm a life coach. But this is what I tell people, that every coach needs a coach to guide them. So you may not, no man is an island. You need somebody to guide you. And I found one. I was actually going through the websites and the profiles of many speakers and motivational speakers that I knew. And my eyes landed on one particular one. For what reason? I don't know. And I looked at this profile and I liked it. Luckily, there was a number, and I called that number. And this number was of a gentleman called Bugwa Mombi. Bugwa Mombi was one of the people that walked with me.
He's a friend of ours.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You know him?
Oh, yes, we do.
Great. So Bugwa Mombi took me through some lessons, and he started coaching me in this journey because I liked what he was doing. And besides that, I also was very inspired by his story from a very humble background. He didn't have the papers, the credentials that were needed.
He was a T-boy.
He was a T-boy.
At a bank.
Yeah, and probably some people have never known the details of that story. But you see, at some point, he was about to just decide now, I've had it. I just want to transit to my Father in heaven. But you see, because of the dream that he had seen, when he was taken to the bank at a tender age, in class 5, by his mother, who had gone to borrow some money from a friend for him to go back to school, he remembered what he had seen. And when he was going to, he had reached a place of desperation in his life, he walked past Barclays Bank, and he remembered what he had seen when he was a young boy. And he stepped in there, and that's how he became a T-boy. But now the journey later on, he left the bank as a senior manager. He also went to Cooperative Bank as a senior manager. But you see, after that, what is he doing? He's doing major things. He's transforming lives. And that's what I love doing. So he's one of the people that have worked with me. Number 2, I also stepped into the Destiny Life coaching with Jeff Ndiwa. And that's where I did my coaching training. Yes.
Okay. But even, Francis, as you were making this decision and as you're going through this transition, of course, we cannot assume everything was so easy because you're moving from a place where you're used to getting your paycheck every single month to this unknown area where you're not sure how this is going to work out. You're not even sure whether you're going to make money the first 2-3 months. How did you deal with that? You know, with that realization of, okay, maybe it's not really what I thought it was going to be. Yes.
One of the things in the 3-year journey that I walked with my resignation letter, I was working on myself and not on the journey. And I told myself that, of course, the provisions may not come the way they were coming. And now I need to know how I'm going to spend. I need to cut off on some things. I need to be ready and prepared on how my children are going to go to school. Because I wouldn't want to see a situation where my children are not going to school because they lack school fees. And so I worked on that, and I asked myself questions. What if the provisions don't come? Am I ready for this? And so when you're making that transitional journey, you also need to be prepared like 6 months in advance. You need to know where your rent is going to come from, not from what you're starting. Not from what you're starting, but you need to set yourself in such a way that now you don't just tap out this month and the next month you become a borrower. So you need to really work on yourself. Even before you work on other things, work on yourself. Now, the things that you do not know, how do they reflect on you? You need to deal with that. If you need to go back to school, go back to school. Like for me, that's when I realized that I needed to get somebody like Mbogo Mumbi. I realized I wanted to do coaching. I had done this like 2 times, talking to my colleagues, and I was asking them this question. Can you write for me what you like about me, and more so, what you hate about me, the things that you don't like about me? I did a self-audit about 3 times. And some of my friends were brutally honest.
Ruthless with the answers.
And I loved that because I decided I needed to work on that. Some of them told me, you're very stubborn. I love that because you're telling me the areas that I need to work on. And so I took this self-audit and started working on that line. Now, I told myself, they used to tell me, for you, I know you as a coach. I know you as a trainer. I know you as a person who likes to inspire people. You like to motivate people. And then I told myself, okay, now I'm stepping out. Now, how am I going to coach people? I don't know how coaching is done. I've just been doing it by default. I don't know how it's done. Number 2, how am I going to talk to people and inspire them and transform their lives? I don't know how it's done. And so I needed to sit down under a teacher for me to get that. Because every adjustment, every advancement needs an adjustment. I need to adjust. You need to adjust. You cannot do the same things and expect to get different results. Because whatever worked in that area that you're in may not work in the other area that you're going to. Yes.
Do you think that right now you have everything figured out?
I don't have everything figured out. But I'm better, far much better than where I was. Far much better in my thinking, far much better in my connections, far much better in my networks, far much better in the knowledge that I have acquired in this industry that I'm in. I was never a writer. I have become a writer. That was yesterday. I had a meeting where I was given some work to translate into the Swahili language. And I'm like, okay, these are things that I love doing. Because number one, I've been an interpreter. You've never known that. Wow. I've been an interpreter. Okay. I've written a book. Now, look at this combination. This person wants the book translated and written. Yeah. So I have both. Yeah. But where did this come from? It came from the 3 years of preparation. Of preparation. Yes. Again, it's all about knowing where you're coming from, where you are, and where you're heading to. Going. And also knowing being self-aware of what you can do. Absolutely. Because there's so much that you have that has never been brought out. I like a proverb in the Bible. That's Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 5. It says that purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So every one of us has something deep within us, deposited by God, but we have never found the understanding to bring it out. Yes, yes. That person of understanding could be you. It could be a mentor. It could be a teacher. It could be a coach. But you need to bring it out. Okay. So today is Relationship Thursdays, and I think it will be really good if we focus the topic on relationships and some of the decisions that we make in life, especially now when you're going, as you have said, if you have a plastic heart, do not get into a relationship. Yeah, because most of the time people make mistakes and they make decisions from anger. Yeah. How would you talk to the people who are watching the show right now, and they're in that transitioning period where maybe they're broken, they've been heartbroken, or maybe their relationship is not working anymore, and they just don't know how to deal with it? All right. When it comes to relationships, it's a really tough area. Yeah. Very tough area, because at times, this is how I put it, matters of the heart are very tricky. Yeah. Because when you got into that relationship, probably you didn't tell us. You only came to show us that this is the person. Because how you got to know them, how you got to talk to them, how you got to connect with them, we do not know. Those are matters of the heart. But having said that, you realize that there's so many people who are hurting today. And one of the things that I love, I tell my friends that I like making friends. But if you choose to be my enemy, then I can release you to go. Now, what I have realized with some of my friends, and this is what I tell them, that there are so many negative things in you, but I have chosen to focus on the positive things. Every one of us has very negative things that you don't like. If we decide to focus on those negative things, then we are on a journey of destruction. Now, when you have, or when somebody has decided to focus on the positive things, you realize, like, for example, you could be friends, and I decide to confide in you. And then the next thing that I hear, whatever I told you in confidence, I hear it all over. From someone else, yes. So now, you're broken. Who do you run to? Who do you talk to? You see, those are areas that you really need to know your friends. And the people that you call your close friends may not be your best friends. Wow. There are people who cannot keep a secret. Yeah. And that is a problem in any relationship. Like, for example, if you're in a relationship, because this is one of the things that also breaks family unions, you realize that a husband or probably a wife has shared some very deep secrets with her friends out there. And the other spouse gets to hear about what they shared. And you see, a relationship is a matter of trust. Yes. It's love. Yeah. It's trust. Yeah. Now, when you get to hear your innermost secrets out there, and you know the only person that knows about these secrets it's your better half. Is my better half. Yes. Now, where are the trust levels going to go? You begin to feel like, no, I don't need this. Because the very person that you cared about most, the very person that knows you the most, is the one who is now beginning to destroy you. And so, who do you run to? You need to identify somebody. Yeah, that's a very solid question. Who do you run to when things are not working out? Do you run to your closest friends? Do you run to your mother? Do you run to your sisters, brothers? Who do you go to? And that's a tough decision to make. It's a tough decision, and that question doesn't have a blanket answer. Yeah, because these are individuals. You're dealing with individuals. Absolutely. You need to find an individual who you can trust. Okay. that could not be your mom.
Okay.
Yeah, you may go to your mom and it backfires.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, she comes and deals with the situation on your behalf.
Absolutely.
I've heard of cases where brothers have dealt with their brother's wife.
Yes.
On his behalf.
Ooh.
Because they feel like, now the guy is not doing enough.
He's not doing it.
And you see, those are things that need to be taken care of, because there are some decisions that you can make at that particular time, and you realize that you have caused more damage.
Absolutely. Or they will cost you forever.
Yes.
So real quick, let's just talk about your first book, which is Inside Information. I love the title, and you say, discover the inner voice that guides you. Kindly just give us a synopsis of what the book is all about.
The book is about the inner voice that guides, because we have an inner voice that many people neglect or do not even think about. And this inner voice, some people would call it the gut feeling. Some people would call it intuition and all those things. But I choose to call it the inner voice that guides. And this inner voice helps you discover things or know about things that you should not have known. I was giving out a speech a few days ago in a graduation that I was in. And one of the stories is in that book, where I had planned to go on a journey in Bondo after receiving an invitation. And I prepared for this journey for 3 months. But when the day came, I left the house going to Bondo. But when I reached at the bus station to take a bus, I changed direction. And I went to Garissa. I had never been to Garissa, but I went to Garissa. Now, I asked myself, how did my journey change? I did not understand that. But when I got to Garissa, my brother-in-law was in Garissa together with his family. And when I arrived in Garissa, after about 3 hours, my sister's son died. And that's when I understood why my journey had changed. And that is what I call inside information. How did I get to understand that? How did I change a journey? It's difficult to change a journey that you've planned for 3 months. And you're changing it not from the house, when you're at the bus stop. I actually went to Garissa in an overcrowded bus. I stood the whole way. From Nairobi to Garissa. That's inside information. And that is what inspired this book. And I've been in that journey I've had experiences, which the book explains, of so many inside information that I have received.
And I have noticed that your books are all about your own personal experiences. Don't you feel like sometimes that, you know, if I share this, I'm letting out myself out there, I'm becoming very vulnerable?
So at times you need to be authentic. And the moment you become authentic, people get to believe in you, because you don't have time to put on a plastic face and pretend and all that. You're just putting it out there. But what you realize is it also helps a lot of people. I have had people who have read the book coming back to me and taking more copies. I have never taken this book to the US, but it's there. Taken by people. I have never taken the book to Denmark. It is there. I've never taken the book to Australia. People came back and took the book there. And the reason is there's something that caught their attention.
Relatable to their own lives.
They can relate with it. And one of my friends who probably is watching, a doctor by profession, told me, one of the things that I like about this book, it's because the stories have not been picked from somewhere, which is something that people do. There are some statements that have been, it's not fiction, it's real life. There are some things that have been overused. You take a book and you realize that a statement that was taken from a book has been put together and it doesn't have any flavor. All right. So how can people get your book, this one and Decision in Transition? This book can be number one, I had decided never to take this book to the bookshops. And so, but when you go to Park, if you go to Park, the Park University Library, the book is there. There is a library of the Tabasamu Child Foundation. It's there. But what I prefer most, I like connecting with my audience. That's one of the things that I really want to do. Because, like, for example, I gave the book to somebody, and when this person read this book, it opened a door for me in the prisons. And we've been doing some program in the prisons. In the prisons, and that program has really helped. We've seen a lot of transformation, and that brings a lot of fulfillment in my life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming through today. It was quite an honor, you know, you sharing your story and being very candid about it. We really do appreciate it. That's it for Rise and Shine this Thursday morning. Remember, it was all about decisions in your transition. Just what decisions are you making? And remember what Francis said, that you need to know where you're coming from, where you are, and where you're going to. Basically understanding yourself and tapping into your inner purpose. That's all for today. But let's now have a look at your roads. Shiro is ready to give us an update of how the roads are looking like this Thursday morning. Shiro.
Disaster. It's not even 7 a.m. and people are absolutely trapped in the quagmire. I really wanted to use that word today. You're welcome, everyone. So, of course, let's start off with Thika Road before we end up with just the chaos that is Mombasa Road. All right, let's look at Thika Road really quickly. As you can see from Garden City, traffic is not looking too terrible heading down towards Allsops, where, as you can see, traffic is starting to build up, especially after you pass the Kenya Utalii College heading down towards Pangani. Traffic is very, very busy indeed at this early juncture of the morning. Kiambu Road, traffic is quite busy, stretching back all the way from the Rock City stage down into the Thika Road area. Limuru Road has started to build up quite a bit. Traffic is almost at the Ukrainian embassy and heading down towards Aga Khan Hospital. That's quite busy as well. Uhuru Highway, traffic is actually starting to build up from Museum Hill, past Museum Hill, almost at the Kempinski Hotel, heading down towards the city center. And then, of course, both ways, all the way from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout up until the University of Nairobi roundabout, traffic is quite busy as well. All right, let's look at Langata Road really quickly. Langata Road, traffic is horrible. It's actually stretching all the way up to the St. Mary's Hospital stage down towards the Timor roundabout. Magathi Way is not bad this hour, but guaranteed to get worse as the morning progresses. Ngong Road looks okay, all the way from the Posta bus station past Adams Arcade down into the City Mortuary roundabout. Wayaki Way heading into Westlands, that does not look too bad, especially from Aga Khan High School down into Westlands, but traffic starts to build up just a bit from St. Mark's Church down into the Westlands area. All right, finally, let's look at Mombasa Road, because I hear that is a mess. So Mombasa Road is very busy all the way from the City Cabanas, heading right into the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Let's take a look at some of your tweets really quickly. There we go. Mombasa Road is bumper to bumper. Traffic snarl up inevitable. Tough day ahead. Good morning. Wow. If that is your energy in the morning, I want to give you a hug by lunchtime. Kiambu Road, Mwendo ni teke until you join Thika Road, slow near Pango underpass, but kusonga till Tao. So that is at least some good news there. Finally, I don't know if we can grab this tweet really quickly. Uhuru Highway into town past a railway overpass now. As you can see there, traffic is actually really starting to build up there, as you can see. Very, very busy. Even before the sun comes up, your lights are still on, but traffic is very, very busy indeed. That is your situation at this hour, which is, let's see, exactly 7 a.m. right here on K24 Alpha G. On the side of the break, we get interactive. Don't go away.